you ever looked at something broken, forgotten, or thrown away, and wondered if it could become beautiful again? Welcome to Nature Nest, a place where trash finds new life, and small spaces bloom with creativity. In today's video, we'll explore DIY trash garden ideas that turn bottles, tires, and even old cups into colorful borders, planters, and backyard accents. To make it easy, we've added timestamps below. Just jump to the parts that inspire you most. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments. If this video sparks an idea, take it, shape it, and make it your own. Creativity begins with what you already have. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a story, and a family. This isn't just a video. It's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it means more than you know. When you subscribe, you're not only helping a creator grow, you're helping a dream stay alive. You're giving hope, one click at a time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for seeing me. In the gentle embrace of a tiny yard, color becomes a language of joy. Imagine stepping outside to a garden where recycled bottles, once destined for the trash, now stand proudly as luminous guardians of your flower beds. Half buried in the soil, each bottle reflects the sunlight in jewel tones, emerald, sapphire, and ruby, transforming an ordinary garden border into a vibrant ribbon of glass. The edges glow, catching every flicker of daylight, shimmering like a mosaic woven into the earth. Behind this playful edging, chrysanthemums sway with golden crowns, marigolds burst in fiery orange, and asters unfold in shades of lilac. The flowers seem to dance in harmony with the glass, their colors echoing the painted hues of the bottles. Bees hover lightly over the blossoms, and butterflies pause, drawn by both bloom and brilliance. A winding path lined with these borders leads to a quiet sitting spot beneath a pergola draped with climbing roses. The air feels soft, scented with the perfume of late-blooming perennials and damp soil after morning dew. As you sit, your gaze follows the curve of the edging, where light and shadow play upon painted glass, weaving patterns that shift with every hour of the day. What was once discarded, empty bottles, forgotten and dull, has found a second life here. The art of upcycling whispers a quiet truth: beauty hides in unexpected corners, waiting only for a touch of imagination. In this tiny yard, the garden border is not just an edge, it is a celebration, a song of resourcefulness and color that makes the smallest space feel boundless. In the quiet corners of a small garden, magic often lives in the simplest of objects. Imagine a set of porcelain teacups, once forgotten in dusty cupboards, now reborn as whimsical homes for flowers. They perch gracefully on a rustic wooden table, their delicate rims brimming with soil and moss, holding the life of marigolds and chrysanthemums in vibrant bloom. Each teacup becomes a miniature garden, as if telling stories of afternoon tea parties that never ended, only blossomed into something new. The beauty lies in their scale. In a world where gardens often claim wide landscapes, here the focus is on intimacy, tiny blooms rising from cups, each one a world of its own. Japanese anemones sway gently with the breeze, their soft petals nodding toward the porcelain that cradles them. Bees hum lazily, dipping between asters in painted cups, while butterflies linger over patterns of turquoise and gold. On the fence, a weathered shelf holds another collection, vintage teacups painted in pastel hues of lavender, rose pink, and butter yellow. Each one is like a brushstroke on a living canvas, bringing color to the smallest spaces. Below them, green ivy climbs and frames the display, giving depth to this charming little gallery of blooms. As the evening light softens, lanterns glow between the teacups, casting warm shadows that dance on porcelain surfaces. It feels like stepping into a page of a fairy tale, where gardens are not measured by size but by the wonder they inspire. From trash to treasure, from forgotten china to blooming joy, these teacup mini gardens remind us that beauty is not bound by space. Even in the tiniest corner of a patio or backyard, creativity allows flowers to flourish, giving every small space the soul of a grand cottage garden. There is a certain poetry in giving weightless life to heavy, forgotten things. Tires, once worn by endless journeys and left to decay, are transformed here into vessels of bloom. On a small patio, their round forms have been painted in joyous colors: sapphire blue, sunflower yellow, coral pink. What once rolled across dusty roads now sits still, brimming with chrysanthemums, marigolds, and asters, spilling over like laughter captured in flowers. Each tire tells a story. Some are stacked into towers, layered like birthday cakes where blossoms burst instead of candles. Others hang against a wooden fence, suspended like living wreaths, painted with delicate swirls and patterns. From their centers, trailing vines and Japanese anemones reach outward, softening the strength of rubber with the grace of petals. In a farmhouse corner, a pergola rises above a cluster of tire planters painted in rustic motifs. The old black rubber is nowhere to be seen. Instead, vibrant paint and fresh blooms disguise every trace of its past, turning junk into something worthy of admiration. Bees and butterflies don't seem to care for history, they simply hover, sipping nectar from flowers that glow against their painted frames. As twilight falls, the patio becomes alive with color against the fading light. The painted surfaces catch the glow of lanterns, while blossoms cast gentle shadows across the stones. It is a place both thrifty and beautiful, where creativity thrives over waste, and where the boundary between trash and art dissolves completely. In these tire planters, we find not only flowers but resilience, the power of renewal. A forgotten object, reborn in the garden, whispers a reminder: nothing is truly lost, only waiting to be imagined anew. the edge of a quiet garden, the harmony of nature and craft comes alive. Bamboo, with its gentle strength, rises from the earth in simple upright poles. Beside it, painted bottles gleamed softly in the sunlight, their glass catching glimmers of green and blue. Together they form a border that feels both rustic and refined, a marriage of raw natural texture and playful color. Along a winding path, the edging guides the eye, curving like a ribbon through blooming beds. Chrysanthemums lift golden heads, asters glow in lavender light, and marigolds blaze in bright orange. The bamboo whispers of forests and tradition, while the bottles sing of renewal and reinvention. They share the soil, standing side by side, transforming an ordinary garden edge into a story of contrast and connection. In the patio corner, the edging wraps around a bed of sedum and Japanese anemones. Their blossoms lean toward the glass, as if fascinated by the light trapped within. The bamboo, with its warm beige tones, grounds the design in rustic simplicity, while the bottles add sparkle, like hidden jewels waiting to be discovered. Children pause to touch the cool glass, watching the way it glimmers under the afternoon sun. Adults smile at the quiet elegance, noting how something once discarded now feels precious. The edging does not shout, it hums, gently framing the blooms, offering both order and whimsy to the garden's natural rhythm. As evening comes, lanterns cast their glow across bamboo and bottle alike. The two materials, so different in origin, share a quiet harmony, reminding us that beauty is found where tradition meets imagination. In this rustic edging, the garden becomes more than flowers and soil. It becomes a celebration of resourcefulness, creativity, and the joy of small details that make a space truly alive. In the gentle hush of a cottage garden, the morning begins with song. Birds gather where porcelain teacups sway lightly from branches, their delicate handles tied with ribbons and twine. Once vessels for afternoon tea, they now cradle seeds, inviting life to flutter in and out of the garden. Painted in pastel hues, each cup gleams softly in the sun, transforming ordinary china into a stage for nature's quiet ballet. On a rustic wooden fence, more teacups line the rails, their rims brimming with seed and grain. Finches land with quick, bright movements, sparrows chatter and peck, and robins pause as though savoring the unexpected feast. Around them, marigolds burst in orange brilliance, chrysanthemums unfold with golden warmth, and sedum blushes pink, turning the feeder line into a colorful corridor of delight. Beneath the pergola, teacups dangle like ornaments in a festive display. Painted in turquoise, yellow, and pink, they shimmer against trailing vines and the gentle blooms of Japanese anemones. Birds hover, wings catching the light, before settling gracefully to feed, their small bodies framed by blossoms and porcelain. The garden feels alive with both sound and color. Birdsong mingles with the rustle of leaves, while painted cups and blooming flowers sparkle against the green backdrop. Every corner whispers creativity, a reminder that even the smallest vessels, fragile teacups forgotten in cupboards, can become treasures when placed in the garden's embrace. As dusk falls, the last of the birds take flight, leaving behind the silhouettes of teacups glowing softly in lantern light. The feeders remain, waiting patiently for tomorrow's song, standing as symbols of joy, resourcefulness, and the magic that arises when everyday objects are invited into nature's story. At the heart of the garden, a wall rises, not of stone or brick, but of glass reborn. Bottles once empty, forgotten, and bound for the trash now form a mosaic that shimmers with every flicker of light. Set sideways into the patio wall, their rounded bases glint in hues of emerald, sapphire, and amber. Each circle of glass catches the sun, turning the wall into a living canvas of color. In the morning, sunlight streams through, casting glowing patches across the patio floor. Children pause to watch the shifting light, as if rainbows had been trapped within the glass. Marigolds and chrysanthemums bloom nearby, their petals glowing even brighter against the jewel-toned reflections. The flowers seem to lean toward the colors, joining the dance of shadow and shine. By afternoon, the wall becomes a mirror of the sky, blue deepening, gold warming, green glowing like the canopy of trees. Around its base, sedum clusters and asters nod gently, their shapes softened by the mosaic's playful glow. A pergola nearby offers shade, while vines trail down to frame the sparkling glass, blending nature's softness with human craft. As dusk settles, the bottles hold on to the last light, glowing like lanterns embedded in the wall. The patio transforms into a sanctuary, a place to sit quietly and watch as color deepens with the fading day. The mosaic is no longer just a structure, it is a story, a reminder that beauty often lies hidden in what we discard, waiting to be discovered anew. Here, recycled bottles do not whisper of waste but sing of transformation. They turn a simple patio wall into a vibrant tapestry, binding past and present, trash and treasure, into a timeless piece of art that glows with life. There is a quiet enchantment in the sound of water, even when it flows from the smallest of vessels. In this garden, teacups, dainty, delicate, and once tucked away in cupboards, have found a new purpose. Painted in soft pastels of rose, mint, and sky blue, they are stacked and arranged so that water trickles gracefully from one to another, creating a gentle cascade in a corner of the patio. The stream is small, but its song is clear. Each drop catches sunlight as it falls, glimmering like crystal before landing softly into the waiting cup below. Around this tiny fountain, marigolds and chrysanthemums bloom with vibrant color, their petals warmed by the gentle mist. The flowers lean toward the sound, as though nature itself were pausing to listen. A rustic basin of stone lies beneath the teacups, collecting the water as it flows in a circular rhythm. Nearby, asters and sedum stand quietly, their blossoms nodding in the breeze. Japanese anemones, with their pale petals, soften the edges of the scene, blending water, flower, and porcelain into one harmonious picture. Children are drawn to it first, enchanted by the miniature waterfall that seems almost magical. Adults linger too, touched by the poetry of such a small, thoughtful creation. There is no grandeur here, no sweeping fountain of marble, only a whisper of water flowing from fragile cups, turning something ordinary into something unforgettable. As twilight arrives, lanterns glow around the feature, and the water sparkles in their light. The cups shimmer in painted colors, their reflections dancing across the wet stone. It feels like a secret oasis, a reminder that even the smallest spaces can hold wonders when imagination flows as freely as water. From discarded china to a living fountain, the teacups speak of transformation, of renewal, and of beauty that lies in the delicate balance between whimsy and nature. This is no longer just a garden corner, it is a song of water, porcelain, and bloom. Once a symbol of motion and childhood play, the tire swing now finds a new rhythm in the garden, no longer carrying children in circles, but carrying blooms that sway gently with the breeze. Painted in soft hues of pastel pink, sky blue, and sunflower yellow, these recycled tires hang gracefully from sturdy branches and pergola beams, transformed into living planters that bring joy to the backyard. From their circular frames spill cascades of color. Chrysanthemums nod with golden crowns, asters spread in soft lavender tones, and marigolds blaze with fiery orange brilliance. Each swing becomes a floating garden, suspended in the air, catching both sunlight and the laughter of those who pass by. In the corner of a rustic patio, tire swings painted in turquoise and coral dangle like ornaments, cradling Japanese anemones and trailing sedum that overflow with natural elegance. Their round shapes soften the lines of the wooden beams, turning plain corners into vibrant alcoves of charm. Children stop to marvel, recognizing the familiar swing but delighting in its transformation. Adults smile at the whimsical blend of play and nature, where nostalgia meets artistry. Butterflies linger, dancing between one hanging bloom and the next, while bees hum busily, drawn to the flowers swaying gently in midair. As dusk falls, lanterns hung beside the swings light up the garden, casting warm glows across painted tires and blossoms. The planters seem almost magical in the evening breeze, like glowing wreaths of flowers floating above the ground. Here, the old rubber no longer whispers of roads and wear, it speaks instead of creativity, resilience, and the playful spirit of a garden that embraces both memory and renewal. In every painted swing, beauty circles back into life, reminding us that what was once ordinary can bloom again, in ways we never imagined. Evening gathers softly in the garden, and the farmhouse pergola becomes a stage for light. From its weathered beams, recycled bottles hang like ornaments, each painted in hues of emerald, sapphire, and rose. Once destined for waste, these bottles now glow with quiet purpose, transformed into lanterns that cast color across the night. The pergola itself is alive with climbing vines, their leaves weaving between the beams, softening the rustic wood with green lace. As the lanterns flicker, shadows dance among the leaves, mingling with the blooms below. Chrysanthemums spread golden light, marigolds burn with orange fire, and asters scatter lavender stars, echoing the lanterns above in their own language of color. Beneath the pergola, a simple wooden table invites gatherings. Its surface holds the reflection of glowing glass, while the scent of sedum and Japanese anemones drifts through the air. Conversation flows easily in such a place, where every detail speaks of both resourcefulness and charm. Children watch in wonder as the lanterns sway gently, their lights like fireflies captured in bottles. Adults pause, cups in hand, savoring the soft warmth that surrounds them. The garden, small though it may be, feels boundless in its enchantment, a place where creativity stretches space and transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. As the night deepens, the pergola glows like a beacon. The bottle lanterns, once forgotten and discarded, now illuminate joy, turning a rustic corner of the backyard into a haven of warmth and wonder. Here, under the farmhouse pergola, we are reminded that beauty often shines brightest when born from what was left behind. In the garden, even forgotten scraps of metal can learn to sing again. Once rusted and left behind, old pieces of iron and steel have been reborn as sculptures, painted, polished, and given new lives among the flowers. They rise like guardians of color, scattered between blooms, their surfaces gleaming in the sun. A tall sculpture shaped from welded scraps stands proudly in the front yard. Painted in soft pastel hues of mint, lavender, and pale gold, it contrasts beautifully with the asters and sedum at its base. The flowers soften the sharp edges, while the sculpture lends height and character, turning an ordinary space into an outdoor gallery. In the backyard, smaller sculptures play in whimsical forms: butterflies with wings of bent metal, birds perched as if mid-flight, and abstract shapes that spark curiosity. Painted in jewel tones, emerald green, ruby red, sapphire blue, they shimmer like gems against the earthy backdrop. Marigolds and chrysanthemums surround them, their vibrant petals echoing the bold colors of the sculptures. Near the patio, vines curl around a sculpture shaped like a spiral, weaving greenery into its painted curves. Japanese anemones bloom beside it, their pale petals reflecting light against the deep colors of metal. In the breeze, the garden feels alive, not just with flowers and leaves, but with art that breathes alongside nature. As dusk settles, lanterns highlight each piece, casting long, playful shadows across the garden beds. The sculptures, once junk, now glow as though they've always belonged. They tell a story of resilience, of beauty hidden in unlikely places, and of the joy found when creativity meets renewal. Here, trash has been transformed into treasure, not only in form but in spirit. The garden becomes more than a collection of flowers, it becomes a stage where art and nature dance together, proving that imagination can turn even the hardest metal into something soft, bright, and alive. the edge of the patio, the sea finds its echo. Recycled bottles, once clear and ordinary, now stand painted in shades of turquoise, seafoam green, and sapphire blue. They glisten in the sunlight, their surfaces catching and scattering light like the surface of water on a bright day. Planted firmly in the soil, they create a border that feels less like glass and more like a flowing seascape. As you walk along the patio, each step feels like a journey to the shore. The bottles rise like tiny waves frozen in time, their curved bottoms reflecting flashes of sky and bloom. Around them, chrysanthemums unfurl golden petals like bursts of sun on water, while marigolds blaze orange, recalling the glow of twilight on the sea. Asters and Japanese anemones lean close, their soft petals framing the glass with living grace. One corner of the patio is edged with bottles frosted to mimic sea glass, their painted shells and starfish glowing gently in the light. The effect is playful yet calming, as though the garden were whispering stories of the ocean to those who pause to listen. Sedum grows thick nearby, its clusters like coral reefs nestled against the glass waves. As evening falls, the bottles gather the last of the sun's glow, then reflect the flicker of lanterns strung across the pergola. The seascape border shimmers like a shoreline under moonlight, blending garden and ocean in a single breath. It is a reminder that beauty does not need to be far away. Even here, in the small corners of a backyard patio, the memory of the sea can live, crafted from what was once discarded, painted with care, and placed among blooms that thrive in the cool evening air. The DIY bottle seascape edging turns the garden into a living painting, one that changes with every hour of light, forever carrying the calm rhythm of the waves into the heart of the home. In a small patio where space is precious, creativity becomes the true architect. Here, two unlikely companions, old tires and recycled bottles, find new life together, shaping a rustic corner that feels both playful and profound. The tires, once forgotten on roadsides, are painted in hues of turquoise, sunflower yellow, and soft cream. They sit proudly as planters, overflowing with chrysanthemums glowing gold, marigolds blazing orange, and asters scattering lavender stars. The circular shapes rise like layered cakes of color, each one carrying a bouquet of vibrant bloom. Around them, bottles stand upright, half buried in the soil. Their jewel-toned glass, emerald, sapphire, ruby, catches the light, forming a delicate border that frames the rugged bulk of the tires. The contrast is striking, rough rubber beside shimmering glass, strength beside fragility, each enhancing the other. In one corner, Japanese anemones nod gently above a rustic tire bed, their pale petals softening the bold colors below. Sedum gathers thick at the edges, its clusters flowing like quiet green waves around the glowing bottles. Together, the plants weave life through the man-made forms, binding everything in the language of growth. As the day wanes, the bottles shimmer with lantern light, while the tires glow beneath the canopy of blooms. What could have been a clutter of waste becomes a display of balance, a meeting of hard and soft, discarded and cherished, past and present. The garden whispers a quiet truth: beauty is not bound to perfection. In the blend of tire and bottle, we find resilience and wonder, a reminder that even in the smallest patio, imagination can bloom into something timeless. What was once junk now tells a story of renewal, inviting all who enter to pause, smile, and see the hidden poetry of things reborn. Romance blooms not only in flowers but also in the way they are displayed. On this patio, where rustic beams frame a small corner of peace, teacups dangle like delicate ornaments, each one reborn as a tiny planter. Once resting quietly in cupboards, these cups now swing lightly in the breeze, painted in gentle shades of turquoise, rose, and butter yellow, their porcelain surfaces glowing under the afternoon light. From their rims spill cascades of life. Chrysanthemums unfold golden blossoms, asters spread lavender petals like soft stars, and marigolds ignite with fiery brightness. Some cups cradle Japanese anemones, their pale beauty trailing gracefully over the edges, softening the air with elegance. Each teacup tells its own story, yet together they weave a chorus of charm. Below, the patio floor of worn stone catches the dappled glow of sunlight passing through the blooms. The space feels like a sanctuary, intimate, inviting, touched with the magic of simplicity. Birds pause to rest on the trellis, while butterflies hover near, as if charmed by the whimsical beauty of porcelain and flower entwined. As the evening draws in, lanterns hung among the teacups begin to glow. Their light mingles with painted porcelain and the colors of blossoms, turning the corner into a romantic retreat. The cups no longer speak of tea or tables. Instead, they whisper of renewal, creativity, and the quiet poetry of gardens that cherish small details. This cottage patio, though modest in scale, carries the weight of a dream. In the dance of porcelain, bloom, and breeze, it shows us that beauty does not require grandeur. Sometimes it is found in the simplest gestures, like a teacup holding flowers, suspended gently in the air, turning a small patio into a place of timeless romance. In the golden light of autumn, chrysanthemums reign as the queen of the garden. Their blossoms, round and full, unfurl in shades of gold, bronze, and ivory, bringing warmth to the cooling air. Along their beds, a border of recycled bottles rises, each painted with care, transforming trash into a luminous frame for nature's splendor. The bottles, once dull and forgotten, now glisten like jewels. In pastel hues, they glow softly against the soil, echoing the tender beauty of the blossoms they guard. Along a front yard path, they catch the morning sun, scattering tiny beams of light across the petals of golden mums. Each step along the path feels like walking through a corridor of color, where glass and flower speak the same joyful language. In the backyard, jewel-toned bottles stand proudly upright, emerald, ruby, sapphire, forming a vibrant contrast to the chrysanthemums behind them. Their brilliance lifts the blooms, as if the flowers themselves had cast their colors into the glass. The border does not merely contain the garden, it amplifies it, creating a stage where every blossom shines brighter. On a rustic cottage pathway, Bottles painted with hand-drawn floral motifs weave gently beside asters and mums. Their designs echo the shapes of petals and leaves, blending art with nature. The edging feels alive, as though the garden had chosen its own jewelry for the season. As dusk arrives, lanterns flicker and the bottles glow in the soft light, their painted surfaces shimmering beside the golden crowns of chrysanthemums. The border becomes more than decoration. It is a frame for memory, a testament to resourcefulness, and a celebration of how beauty can be reborn from what we leave behind. In every glass edge lies a story of transformation, of bottles turned radiant, of borders turned into art, and of chrysanthemums standing proudly as the centerpiece of a garden that whispers of both creativity and grace. At the center of the backyard, a gazebo stands, its wooden beams weathered by time, its roof offering shade and shelter. But it is not the structure alone that draws the eye, it is the circle of planters at its base, crafted from old tires given a second life. Once heavy and worn, these tires now gleam in cheerful coats of paint, turquoise, lavender, and golden yellow, becoming frames for gardens of their own. From their round mouths spilled chrysanthemums, their golden blossoms shining like captured sunlight. Marigolds blaze in orange fire, asters open in lilac stars, and sedum drapes in soft clusters of pink and green. Japanese anemones rise with grace, their pale petals swaying gently in the breeze, softening the boldness of painted rubber with elegance. Together, they weave a tapestry of bloom that encircles the gazebo like a living wreath. The space feels alive. Bees hum busily among the flowers, butterflies flit lightly from one planter to the next, and the air carries both fragrance and color in abundance. Children wander near the planters, drawn to the playful patterns painted on the tires, while adults find rest within the gazebo, looking out upon a garden that speaks of both thrift and beauty. As the day turns to evening, lanterns hung from the gazebo cast a warm glow across the circle of planters. The painted surfaces gleam under the light, and the blossoms seem to shine brighter still, as though the night itself had decided to celebrate. What was once junk has become joy. The gazebo, already a place of gathering and pause, is transformed into the heart of the garden, crowned not with stone or iron, but with the creativity of renewal. Here, surrounded by thrifty tire planters, beauty does not come from wealth but from imagination, proving once more that even the humblest of objects can bloom into art when placed in the garden's embrace.